One of the most strangest experiences I've had in consulting was going into a thriving, growing, vibrant church and discovering it was seriously unhealthy. I went into this church and was amazed with the Sunday service. The worship was brilliant. The atmosphere was great. The connection of people afterwards was really good. And then once I started to deep dive out down into the church, consulting with the pastor, consulting with the team, interviewing staff, and getting down into the normal sort of deep areas of church consulting, I discovered that the church staff relationships were terrible. That at a board level, the level of disunity and division was horrifying. The whole experience for me was a stark wake-up call to prove the fact that unhealthy churches can grow. What a strange thing. But when you think about it in life, cancer grows, weeds grow, and none of those things are healthy. If you've had cancer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a horrible disease, it's a horrible thing, yet it grows. And I've discovered that unhealthy churches grow, and it's the reason that I don't like the proverb, the phrase that's used often at conferences, healthy churches grow. And it's just thrown out there, and we all tend to nod our heads. Well, I used to just go, yeah, that's right. If you've got a healthy church, a healthy staff, and healthy Sunday services and small groups that were flourishing, you will certainly grow. And by grow, we meant our numbers on the database and in attendance would increase. That's why we meant grow. We didn't mean about discipleship or about spiritual growth or walking with Jesus. It was about that database growth, that attendance growth. And the terrible thing about this phrase, healthy churches grow, that if your church is growing, as a pastor, you say, well, numerically, we're up. Therefore, we must be healthy. No other analysis needed, no other deep dive needed, no other discussion to be had. We're growing, we're healthy. Yay! Awesome days. However, if the flip side was happening, if your church is not growing, you might be having good Sunday services, your small groups might be doing well, you might have good numbers even getting baptized, but it's not growing. There's no more people this Sunday than there was a year ago on average in your church meetings. You're not adding extra to your database as just a churn over, and you're staying the same year by year. Well, we must be unhealthy. We're not growing. No other analysis needed. No deep dive into actually our baptism numbers, our serving numbers, our small group numbers. Those kind of they talk about the numbers, the ABCs. Attendance, buildings, cash. If those three things are good, we're all healthy. When you dive down into serving numbers, small group numbers, baptism numbers, I think you really start to analyze health at another level. But man, we're not growing, therefore we must be unhealthy. And this discourages most pastors because most churches tend to live around the same size over their journey over 5 or 10 years, and try as you might to get through to the next level, breaking the so-called church growth barriers, you can get deeply frustrated, despairing even of, well, I go to conference, they say healthy churches grow, mine's not growing, I must be unhealthy. So I came up with a different proverb. I think this is a far better proverb, not just because I came up with it, but I think it's truer, and I think it resonates with pastors of normative sized churches. Here's the proverb: healthy churches grow to their optimum size. Now, if you're enjoying this content, please smash that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Follow me on the channel. Make sure you can help my channel grow. I want a healthy YouTube channel. No, I would just love to see more people on the channel. So please help me with liking, subscribing. Leave me a comment or a question. Love to interact with you. If you're listening on the podcast, please hit that subscribe button. Share this episode with others in your community. So let's unpack this proverb. Healthy churches grow to their optimum size. And pastors ask me, how do I know what my optimum size is? Well, I think it comes down to your call, your context, and your capacity. Let me unpack those three things. Healthy churches grow to their optimum size according to their call. What's the call of Jesus on your church? What does Jesus want your church to do? What's the mission of your church? What's your focus? What does the Lord put on your heart? Maybe you have a burden about homeless people in your area of your city, and your burden and your call is to that. Maybe your call is to wealthy people who have a sense of, I've got everything, but I feel something's lacking. Who are you called to? What has Jesus burdened your heart with? And don't be like Peter when Jesus in John 21 said to him, well, this is how you're going to finish up. This is how your life is going to finish. And Peter says, well, thanks a lot, Lord, but what about him? What about the beloved disciple? And Jesus says, look, if I want him to be around till kingdom come, what is that to you? In other words, Peter, if I bless him differently to you, what is it to you? It's a great question for pastors and church leaders to wrestle with. If someone is blessed differently, has had maybe a larger impact, a bigger church, an expansion of what they're doing in kingdom work, what is that to you? It's a brilliant question to ask yourself and wrestle with. And then Jesus says, follow me. And I think church leaders have to figure out, what does Jesus want us to do? And then follow him and do what he wants to do. The second aspect of healthy churches grow to their optimum size is this context. What's your context? Are you in a large city? Are you in a small regional rural area? Do you have thousands of new people joining your city, maybe from migrants from Christian countries overseas, and there are people arriving who are looking for your church? Do you have a highly skeptical population base? Do you have lots of growth? Do you have decline in population? What's going on? What's your context? Do you have young families? Do you have retirees? Do you have lots of children? Are schools booming and busting out in your area? Or are retirement villages growing like crazy in your area? What's your context? Your context will determine your growth and your capacity to grow. If you're in a town of 3,000 people, you have a church of 100 people, you got a sizable population, sizable part of the population of that town in your church. What's your context? Understand your context, because that will make a difference. One of the pastors I coach here in my hometown of Perth, Australia, he pastored for the first 10 years or so of their church. They were meeting in a hotel right by the beach, right on the ocean. And I remember coaching with him one day and said, your pool that you're fishing from for souls is actually not as big as if you moved inland 15 minutes, because most people in Perth will drive 20 minutes to a church, 30 minutes max. I said, half of your land area, land mass to actually pull people from into your church is ocean. There are not many sharks coming to your church, not many jellyfish coming to your church. I said, you really have a limited pool. It's probably half the pool of a pastor who's 20 minutes inland from your church. His context was going to determine his growth capacity. Understand your context, work it out, figure it out, and work with it. And the last one, and this one you can have some control over. You can't have much control over your call. That's up to Jesus. Your context is your context unless you move significantly in a geographical way. But the third aspect of healthy churches grow to their optimum size is your capacity. This is your ability to cope with stress, your ability to cope with personal growth, your ability to be productive, your ability to be effective, your ability to change, even in aspects of your leadership, of your pastoring, of maturing, of developing as a pastoral minister, as a pastoral leader. And I think this is one area you can take charge of. This is one area you can control. You can get a coach into your world. You can get a consultant like me. You could take the Church Growth 3-minute quiz that I've got right down in the description below. I've got the 3-minute Church Growth quiz in the show notes. You can take that and suddenly you begin to build your capacity because you realize, you know what? Gee, our church isn't actually positioned that well for growth. We think we're okay. We think we're doing well, but my 3-minute quiz will show you areas that you can improve. And when you say, right, let me at this, I want to improve. I want to grow our church. Let me add that quiz. Let me get that feedback and that information. Now, if you're kind of going, oh, you know what? An evaluation, a 3-minute quiz that gives me a evaluation report that's personalized, customized, and relevant to me specifically. Oh, that might be a bit ultra. I think I'll stay away from that. That's giving you an indicator of your capacity right at this very minute. Now, you don't have to take the quiz. You don't have to do that. It's available as a free resource for you. But if you're kind of avoiding some of the hard questions, if you're avoiding that advice and that feedback from people, if you're just going to, no, I'm good as I am, I'm just going to keep plowing away and see if that makes a difference. Maybe your emotional capacity is low. Maybe even your spiritual capacity is low. Maybe you need to enlarge with some prayer and fasting and seeking the Lord. Maybe there needs to be visiting other churches to see what else is going. What can you do to lift your capacity? There are a range of things that you can do. You can get a coach, you can get a consultant, you can visit other churches, you can ask other pastors to come to your church and say, hey, give me some advice on what you would change in your church to stimulate growth and health. So, healthy churches grow? No, no, I don't think that's right. Healthy churches grow to their optimum size. Hey, Pastor, take the 3-minute quiz. If you're a church leader, you think this would help your pastor, send them the link to the 3-minute quiz, and you'll find that in the description. And this will help you grow a healthy church.